Hello all you beautiful guys or womens, I'm RonMan. Today we're taking a look at the Mystical Ninja starring Goemon for Nintendo 64. Mystical Ninja is a single-player, third-person action-adventure game that was developed by Konami and released on the Nintendo 64 in 1998. Fun fact, this was actually the very first Nintendo 64 game I ever owned, and I had to learn the hard way what a memory card is. Right off the bat, I want to draw a comparison to Zelda. Mystical Ninja does kind of feel like it, and that's not a bad thing. In fact, I love this game, though it's not perfect. Mystical Ninja is definitely not as polished as Zelda, but that's okay. It's still a great game in its own right, but with some flaws. So I'll start off with the good. This game's got charm. There's humor spewing out this game's ass, and sometimes it was actually enough to give me a mild chuckle. This game opens with a cutscene of your two main characters, Goemon and Sumeru, and pardon me if I'm not pronouncing those properly, but they get chased out of a coffee shop because Sumeru decided to strip to get a discount. Next thing you know, the antagonist is revealed as they fly a large peach-shaped object, referred to as a UFO, over Oedo Town and attack the castle. But they don't actually hurt anybody, they just change the castle. Goemon and Sumeru are concerned, and this is where the game starts. You'll encounter many different areas to explore, such as towns, fields, and Zelda-like dungeons. This game is linear, though you're able to take your time and explore your environments. There's a plethora of items to find. Some of them are necessary key items, and some of them are optional. For example, scattered throughout the world are these cat statues. These are optional, but collect 4 and you'll gain a new heart container, just like the heart pieces from Zelda. When I was first playing this game at the age of 11, I thought these cat statues made you kill things faster. You know, because it says strength gauge. Dumbasses, you mean health gauge? Fuck, I hate when people fuck that up. There are lots of games where they fucking refer to your health as strength. You start the game off to only 2? What the fuck? I can't spell shit. I'm reading from a script here. It'd fucking help if I could spell something, right? To fucking be able to read it properly. Fucking, ooh! You start the game off with... There. I changed it. Let's try that again. You start the game off with only 2 playable characters, Goemon and Sumeru. Later in the game, Yae and Sasuke join the party, and again, if I'm fucking up these names, roast me in the comments. You can switch between any of the characters at any time you want, though they all seem to play exactly the same. They all go the same speed, jump the same height, their primary weapons have the same reach, and do the same damage. It doesn't matter who you play as. Maybe I'm wrong with this, but if I am, please correct me in the comments. Certain weapons and items are assigned to a particular character. For example, only Yae can play the flute, which summons the dragon. So you need to switch to her to play it. You cannot change which characters have which items or weapons, so you'll be switching between them quite a lot, but thankfully, it's just a press of a button. A few times throughout the game, you'll meet up with Impact, who's a Power Ranger-style Megazord. At these points, you can enter him and fight another huge Megazord. That's E-Honda. I find these fights are fun, and it's nice that it changes up the gameplay. At some points throughout the game, you might have one of those what the fuck do I do moments. The good news is that there's a fortune teller in all major towns who will tell you what you need to do. Sometimes townfolk will give you direction, but I find it's easier to talk to the fortune teller. I think this game's biggest strength is in its music. So many of these tunes get stuck in my head, just take a listen. Like I said before, this was my first Nintendo 64 game, and it was also my introduction to Japanese culture, and I really enjoy it. Now that I've spoken about the strengths of Mystical Ninja, now it's time to talk about the flaws. As I mentioned before, you have 4 playable characters, and that's great. I just wish there was more of a reason to choose one over the other besides their equipment. I found myself switching between them just for the sake of changing it up. Sometimes you need to stop and change characters just to use a specific item. For example, here I switched to Goemon just to use the pipe chain. Now that I've switched to Goemon, I may as well just stick with him because there's no reason to switch until I need a different character's weapon or item. It's not so much a problem as it is just something I wish they had elaborated on a little more. Next up, and maybe this is just a me thing, but I found the dungeon maps to not be very intuitive. They work, sure, but I had a hard time figuring out where I needed to go. In the first few dungeons I didn't even use the map because everything was pretty straightforward, but by the 3rd dungeon, I was looking at the map quite a lot trying to figure out where I needed to go, and that's when I noticed that either I'm a dumbass or these maps aren't the most intuitive. Probably both. Now, these are just minor complaints, but the biggest complaint with this game is the camera, and if you've played this game, I'm sure you expected me to say this. What is the problem, you might ask? Well, do you know how, when talking about certain games, you might hear people complain about how the camera controls suck? Well, in Mystical Ninja, there are no camera controls. You can't control the camera at all. And that is enough to turn some people off entirely, which is a real shame because otherwise this game is pretty awesome. One thing that I hate is if you need the camera behind you, you just need to stop and wait. Given the unfortunate lack of having a means to control the camera usually does a pretty decent job of being where it needs to be. I found that the dungeons tend to be the most popular places where the camera has no fucking clue what its job is. I'm standing here and I can see that this is a huge room and the last thing I want to do is fall. So I look around a bit and then finally decide to take a leap of faith. Oh, you can just walk down here? See? If I could control the camera, I would have been able to look around and receive the information that I would need to navigate this room. But no. Grab a drink and enjoy the following montage that I've appropriately named, "This Camera is a Piece of Fucking Idiot." So yeah, I feel like the camera can be a moronic moron, but I don't feel it ruins the game. So if you feel like you can deal with the camera, I would definitely recommend that you try this game out if you haven't already. I give Mystical Ninja an 8 out of 10. So that's it. The Mystical Ninja is a great 3D action platformer with memorable music and locations, with the camera being the biggest flaw. Please like, please subscribe because I have a lot more content coming from the pipeline, and we'll see you guys in the next video.